After giving birth, my 9-year-old daughter burst into tears and screamed, "Mom, throw that baby away, right now." I snapped back, "What are you talking about?" She grabbed my arm, trembling, and whispered, "Because, that baby," and I started to shake all over. The residential neighborhood of Willow Creek, Ohio was beautifully adorned with autumn foliage in the evening light. In the Morrisons' 2-story white house, the sweet aroma of ginger cookies wafted from the kitchen. Diana Morrison, supporting her rounded belly with both hands, took cookies out of the oven. "Lily, the cookies are ready." 9-year-old Lily looked up from the drawing paper spread across the dining table. Colorful crayons were scattered in front of her, and her small fingers were stained with yellow and blue crayon marks. "Mom, wait a little longer. I want to finish coloring this sky." The sky Lily was drawing wasn't just a solid blue, it was a complex blend of yellow, pink, and orange, beautifully capturing the sunset's intricate hues. Diana was always amazed by her daughter's artistic sense. "Your drawings are always so lovely." Diana gently placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "But we need to let the cookies cool before Dad gets home. Why don't you go wash your hands?" After adding a final stroke, Lily smiled with satisfaction. "There, finished." She showed the picture to her mother. It depicted 3 figures standing by a lake under a beautiful sunset sky. Diana and Lily, and the baby who was about to be born. Lily had drawn the baby as a small circle surrounded by a yellow halo of light. "When the baby comes, we'll go to the lake together." "That's what this picture is," Lily explained with a serious expression. Diana felt her heart swell. "That's a wonderful plan." She smiled, but noticed one absence. "But what about Dad?" Lily's expression clouded slightly. "Dad's busy. He's always at the hospital, isn't he? So it'll be just the 3 of us." Diana struggled to respond. She understood painfully well how often Greg was absent from home and how much Lily missed her father's presence. Now 7 months pregnant and eagerly awaiting her second child, Diana felt her relationship with her husband gradually cooling. "Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious." Greg was a reputable surgeon at the local St. Mary's Hospital. His specialized skills and cool judgment were trusted by many patients, but as a consequence, he was constantly on call, and time with his family was sacrificed. As they approached their 10th year of marriage, Greg had been just as devoted to his work when their first child, Lily, was born. But during this pregnancy, Diana sensed something different. His emergency surgeries and urgent patient care had increased, making him come home later and later. And as her belly grew, his touches decreased and conversations became superficial. "Mom, what's the baby doing?" Lily returned to the kitchen and put her ear against her mother's belly. "The baby might be napping right now. But at night, the baby always kicks Mommy's tummy." Diana answered with a smile. "Will it be a brother or a sister?" "I wonder. Dad thinks it might be a boy." Lily said with a serious expression, "I want a sister. But a brother would be okay too. I'll take care of him. I'll even help change the baby's diapers." Diana was touched by her daughter's mature words. Though Lily was only 9, she sometimes showed adult-like thoughtfulness. "Thank you, Lily. You'll be a wonderful big sister." By the time dinner was prepared and the table set, the front door opened. Greg had come home. He wore a coat over his blue scrubs and had a tired expression. "I'm home," he said without energy. "Dad." Lily ran to her father, but instead of lifting her high as he usually did, Greg only gave her a light hug. "How was your day?" Diana asked. "Same as usual. Busy." Greg answered briefly and sank into the living room sofa. "Oh, I talked with Dr. Johnson today. I think you should have the baby at St. Mary's. It'll be reassuring to have colleagues I know there." Diana frowned. She had been considering giving birth at Mercy Hospital, which had a more homey atmosphere and promoted midwife-led births. "But I like Mercy," Diana quietly objected. "St. Mary's has better facilities than Mercy. In case something goes wrong." Greg's tone left no room for discussion. As Diana served dinner, she felt she had no energy left to argue further. Exhausted from pregnancy fatigue and anxiety about the distance growing between her and Greg, she was worn out. After all, the baby's safety was the priority. Maybe Greg was right. Last week, when Diana visited St. Mary's, she had noticed Greg speaking intimately with a nurse named Caitlin Harper. There seemed to be some secret conversation between them, and when Diana approached, they suddenly changed the subject. Caitlin was a beautiful, sophisticated woman whose smile seemed to hide some intention. Since then, a small seed of doubt had sprouted in Diana's mind. After dinner, While Lily was bathing, Greg's cell phone rang as Diana was cleaning up in the kitchen. He took the call and immediately left the room. His hushed voice drifted from the hallway. "I can't talk now." "Yes, I know, later." When Greg returned, Diana casually asked, "Who was that?" "The hospital. An emergency surgery came up. I need to go right away." He was already changing back into his scrubs. "Again? But you promised to watch a movie with Lily tonight." "It's work, Diana. Patients are waiting." He answered shortly, grabbing his coat. "I'll be late. Don't wait up for me." With the sound of the door closing, the house fell silent. Diana stared at Lily's drawing on the table. The sunset sky, the lake, and the small family of 3. No sign of Dad. It seemed Lily had already accepted their reality. Diana placed her hand on her belly, thinking she needed to be strong for the baby that would soon be born. At 3 in the morning, Diana woke up to sharp pain. Looking at the clock, she sat up with a gasp and placed her hand on her belly. Another pain hit, making her groan softly. This wasn't practice. It was real labor. A week earlier than her due date. "Greg." She reached out beside her, but the space was empty. Her husband hadn't returned yet. Diana grabbed her phone with trembling hands and dialed Greg's number. The call rang 3 times, 4 times, but there was no answer. She left a brief message. "The baby's coming. I'm heading to the hospital." Next, she called her neighbors, the Watsons. Eleanor Watson answered without complaint and said she'd come right away. Diana and the Watsons had been close since Lily was small, and they had often looked after each other's children. "Lily, wake up." Diana knocked on her daughter's door and gently shook her shoulder. "The baby is coming now. The Watsons will be here soon, and you'll stay at their house." "But isn't it too early?" Lily rubbed her sleepy eyes but quickly understood the situation. She acted surprisingly calmly, changing quickly and beginning to pack a small backpack with necessities. "What about Dad?" she asked. "He still seems to be at the hospital. I contacted him, so we should meet him there." Diana answered while catching her breath between contractions. Eleanor and Jim Watson arrived and offered to drive Diana to St. Mary's Hospital. Lily took her mother's hand and said with a serious expression, "Mom, promise me. If anything strange happens, call me right away." "Strange things? I don't know." But Lily faltered. "I don't like that hospital." Diana didn't understand her daughter's anxiety but smiled to reassure her. "It's okay, Lily. There's nothing to worry about." Upon arriving at the hospital, Greg was nowhere to be found. When Diana gave his name at reception, a young nurse informed her, "Dr. Morrison is currently in emergency surgery." Instead, his colleague Dr. Taylor would attend to her. As Diana was heading to the delivery room, she ran into Caitlin at the corner of the hallway. Caitlin Harper looked perfect as always with immaculate makeup and styled hair, displaying a bright expression that showed no signs of fatigue. "Mrs. Morrison," she exclaimed in surprise. "Your labor has started already." "Greg. Dr. Morrison just finished surgery. I'll call him right away." After Caitlin left, Diana was escorted to the delivery room. Amidst the intensifying pain, she noticed that Caitlin had almost used Greg's first name. It might be natural as colleagues but something felt off. As the contractions grew stronger, Greg finally appeared when Diana was already in the midst of delivery. He stood by her side more as a husband than a doctor, holding her hand and offering words of encouragement. However, his eyes repeatedly darted toward the clock in the door, his attention seemingly drawn to something else. "I need to check on other patients," he said, leaving the room several times. In her pain and exhaustion, Diana had no energy to care. She focused solely on safely delivering her baby. Before dawn, a healthy baby boy cried out. Named Noah, the baby was small at 6 pounds 8 ounces but had strong lungs. Greg held his son in his arms and smiled proudly. Diana, exhausted, savored this happy moment. The next day, the Watsons brought Lily to the hospital. Lily was delighted to reunite with her mother and rushed to her bedside. "Mom. The baby? Boy or girl?" "A boy, Lily. His name is Noah." "He's your brother." Diana smiled. Lily smiled happily and hugged her mother. But when it was time for the nurse to bring the baby, her expression changed. She could see a nurse's cart in the hallway with Caitlin Harper standing beside it. Lily suddenly clung to her mother's arm. "I don't want to meet the baby today," she said in a small voice. "Why? You were looking forward to it until yesterday." Diana was confused by her daughter's sudden change. "That person." Lily pointed outside the window. Caitlin was approaching with the baby. Diana noticed the fear on her daughter's face. She also didn't miss the momentary surprise that flashed across Caitlin's face when she saw Lily, as if she hadn't expected Lily to be there. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Morrison. I've brought Noah," Caitlin said brightly, but her eyes were watching Lily warily. On the morning of discharge, Diana sat on the bed holding little Noah. The morning sun streaming through the hospital room window gently illuminated the newborn's soft cheeks. After 3 days in the hospital, today was finally the day they would return home. As Diana gazed at the baby's face, she felt a strange sensation. Maternal love was certainly there, but she couldn't shake a feeling of something being off. Was it from postpartum fatigue and anxiety about first-time childcare? She couldn't trust her own feelings anymore. Greg was gathering their belongings in the corner of the room. Unusually, he had stayed at the hospital last night and spent time with his family. Yet his mind seemed elsewhere as he constantly checked his cell phone and kept an eye on the hallway. Caitlin will come for the final discharge check. She's a specialist in newborn care and should give you tips for when you get home, Greg said while organizing their things. There was a knock at the door, and Caitlin Harper entered with a smile. She was dressed in a fresh uniform with her hair perfectly styled. "Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. Morrison. Today's the big day, isn't it?" She walked toward Diana and looked at the baby. "Noah looks energetic this morning too." Lily stood by the window, gazing at the parking lot outside. Since Caitlin entered the room, she had moved away, deliberately keeping her distance. Occasionally she would turn around to observe her mother and the baby warily. "Let me do the final check before discharge." Caitlin took the baby from Diana. "He really is a beautiful baby." As she lifted Noah, she looked at Diana with an unnatural smile. Diana sensed something calculated in that smile. She felt a small anxiety growing inside her chest. "I'll bring the car around," Greg said, checking his watch. "With all our bags, it's better to park at the front entrance." He hurried out of the room. Caitlin, holding Noah, said, "I'll take him to the nurse's station for the final nursing check. We'll be right back." As Caitlin was about to leave the room with the baby, Lily suddenly rushed to her mother. Her face showed fear and tension. "Mom, don't let that person take the baby." Lily's voice was small but urgent. "What's wrong, Lily?" Diana asked in surprise. "Caitlin is a nurse. It's her job." "No, Mom," Lily said in a trembling voice. "Yesterday, I saw her talking with Dad. Dad works here, so he talks to everyone." Diana tried to calm her daughter. "No." Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "That person, with another baby." At that moment, Caitlin returned to the room with the baby. There was slight tension visible in her expression. "Here you are, Mrs. Morrison." Noah passed his final check with flying colors. As Caitlin was about to hand Noah to Diana, Lily suddenly cried out. "Mom, drop that baby. Now." Tension filled the room. Diana was shocked and responded with a mix of anger and confusion. "What are you saying? You shouldn't say such things." Lily was trembling as she gripped her mother's arm tightly. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Because that baby isn't your real baby. She switched them. I saw it yesterday. While talking with Dad." The moment she heard those words, the color drained from Caitlin's face. She stepped back momentarily, and a slight tension ran through the hands holding the baby. Diana felt her whole body begin to shake. For the first time, she took a good look at Noah in front of her. Indeed, he seemed different from the baby she had seen right after birth. The shape of his nose looked slightly different, or was it an illusion created by her mind? Baby books said newborns' features change daily. Or was she just tired? "Lily, what are you saying?" Diana asked in a trembling voice. "This is Noah. Mommy's baby." "No." Lily insisted tearfully. "Yesterday, I saw them near the nurse's station in that small room. This person was talking with Dad. There was another baby. The tag said Morrison." Caitlin forced a smile and turned to Diana. "It's a child's imagination. She probably saw another baby. There are many newborns in this ward." At that moment, Greg returned to the room. He noticed the tense atmosphere and frowned. "What happened?" "Your daughter," Caitlin began, then swallowed her words. "There seems to have been a misunderstanding. I'll excuse myself now. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Morrison." She hurriedly left the room. "Lily, what happened?" Greg asked in a stern tone. "Dad, that person switched the baby," Lily said tearfully. "What?" Greg's voice was cold. "Don't say such ridiculous things. Greg." Diana was surprised by her husband's harsh reaction. "Lily says she saw something. It's a child's delusion." Greg dismissed it curtly. Lily, don't say unnecessary things about adult matters. Apologize to the nurse. But, Dad. That's enough. Greg's voice was filled with anger. Diana, get ready quickly. The car is ready. Diana felt something was off about her husband's abnormal reaction. He wouldn't even listen to what his daughter had to say. Normally, he would ask, why do you think that? She looked at Lily trembling with fear and instinctively knew her daughter's fear was genuine. While packing and getting into the car, Lily refused to leave her mother's side. She repeatedly whispered, that's not Mom's baby. Greg drove in silence, and Diana sat in the back seat holding Noah, continuing to stare at the baby's face. The small nose, round eyes, thin hair, it looked like an unfamiliar face. Of course, it could be due to post-birth confusion and fatigue. But what if what Lily was saying was true? In the car heading home, Diana felt her anxiety and fear growing as she held the baby. The seed of doubt in her heart was rapidly beginning to sprout. A week after returning home, Diana's house should have been filled with the joy of welcoming a newborn. Instead, her heart was heavy with suspicion and anxiety. Every day, as she cared for Noah, she was haunted by Lily's words. Not Mom's real baby repeated in her head over and over. Lily avoided getting close to the baby and maintained distance even when moving from room to room. Gone was the girl who had promised to care for her brother, replaced by a vigilant child who silently observed her mother. Her drawings had also darkened, with family depictions becoming vague shadows. Greg was staying late at work more than ever, minimizing his time at home. He rarely held the baby and only briefly reported, the pediatrician's check was fine. His attitude was cold, and he wouldn't allow any discussion about Lily's delusion. One night, while Greg was in the shower, Diana noticed his forgotten cell phone. Normally she would never invade his privacy, but in this situation, she didn't hesitate. Unlocking the screen, their wedding anniversary was the passcode. She saw multiple messages. They were from Caitlin Harper. Can we meet tonight? We need to discuss the children. The plan is working well, but Lily might be a problem. She seems to have noticed something. Greg, please. For our baby's sake. Diana's hands trembled. Our baby. These 3 words shattered her world. Greg and Caitlin were having an affair. And what did children mean? Before the shower stopped, Diana quickly returned the phone to its original place. That night, she turned her back to her sleeping husband and cried. For years of marriage, she had trusted her husband. Now, the suspicion that everything might have been a lie was eating away at her. The next morning, Diana contacted her longtime friend Jessica. Jessica worked as a medical administrator at a different hospital and had connections in the medical field. They met at a cafe, and Diana confided all her suspicions. This is unbelievable, but Jessica's face changed as she spoke. Actually, I've heard rumors about Caitlin Harper. There was talk that she was pregnant. But suddenly, the topic disappeared from hospital conversations. Pregnant? Diana gasped. When was this? From the end of last year to the beginning of this year. It coincides with your pregnancy period. After returning home, Diana examined Noah's features again while holding him. His ear shape, finger length, hairline, all seemed somewhat unfamiliar. But she kept telling herself that newborns change daily. Still, to gain certainty, she secretly arranged for a DNA test. She ordered a home kit and collected samples from herself, Noah, and Greg's toothbrush. She was told it would take a week for the results. During that time, Lily began sharing new observations with her mother. Mom, Noah's ear shape is different. The baby I first saw at the hospital had rounder ears. The baby I first saw was bigger. Noah is very small. The baby back then had a mole on its left cheek, but Noah doesn't have one on his cheek. As Diana listened to her daughter's words, she traced her memories of after the birth. She definitely felt something was different, but her memories were vague due to the pain of labor and fatigue. Still, her maternal instinct told her something was wrong. While waiting for the DNA results, Lily found decisive evidence. A photo of the hospital nursery posted on social media by a mother of Lily's school friend. It was taken when the woman's friend gave birth, but other babies were visible in the background. Lily found it by chance while casually looking at the photo. Mom, this is my real brother. Lily exclaimed excitedly. Look, the tag on his ankle has our name. It says Morrison. Diana stared at the photo and felt the blood drain from her face. There was indeed a baby with a tag labeled Morrison. And that baby was clearly different from Noah, larger, with more hair, and a different ear shape. The date captured in the photo was the day after Diana gave birth. That afternoon, the DNA test results arrived earlier than expected. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. The results confirmed her worst fears. Noah was not biologically Diana and Greg's child. Despite feeling like she might collapse, Diana tried to maintain her composure. To pursue the truth, she avoided direct confrontation with Greg and decided to hire a lawyer and a private investigator. Fortunately, she had savings in her own name and could act without Greg's knowledge. The private investigator's findings revealed shocking facts one after another. Caitlin Harper had indeed been pregnant, with a due date close to Diana's. DNA test results strongly suggested that the father of her child was Greg. Through her lawyer, Diana requested hospital security camera records, which yielded decisive evidence. After Diana's delivery, footage showed Greg and Caitlin exchanging something in the nursery, and the moment they replaced the Morrison tag on a different baby. Most shocking were the medical records obtained by the lawyer. Diana's real son, Matthew, was born with a small heart defect, as recorded. It was treatable, but clearly unacceptable to Greg, who wanted a perfect child. Information from a hospital whistleblower revealed the full extent of Greg and Caitlin's plan. They had switched their healthy child with Diana's baby, giving the real Matthew a different name and moving him to another ward for medical reasons. Eventually, Caitlin would pretend to give up her child for adoption while actually sending her child into Greg and Diana's home. With all the evidence in hand, Diana reported to the police. Greg and Caitlin were arrested on charges of baby abduction and falsification of medical records. The hospital faced a major scandal, and a thorough internal investigation was initiated. Most touching was the reunion with her real son, Matthew. He had been treated as a special case baby without parents in the hospital's pediatric ward. When Diana first held her real son in her arms, she felt everything falling into its rightful place. Matthew did have a small heart issue, but with proper treatment, he was expected to recover completely. "Lily, this is your real brother. His name is Matthew," Diana told her daughter. Lily took her brother's small hand and smiled genuinely for the first time. "I knew it. I knew he was my real brother." Diana thanked her daughter for her sharp observation and intuition. Without her strong assertions, the truth might have remained hidden forever. "Mom, what happens now?" Lily asked in a small voice. "It might be difficult from now on, but we'll be together," Diana answered, embracing her daughter and son. "And this is our real family." 1 year later in spring, a small park in Willow Creek was filled with flowers and laughter. Diana Morrison sat on a bench in the shade, watching children play in the playground area. Lily, now 10 years old, was holding 1-year-old Matthew's hand, slowly helping him climb the slide steps one by one. "Lily, be careful," Diana called out, but she wasn't really worried. Over the past year, Lily had grown into a reliable big sister. "It's okay, Mom. Matthew is a brave boy," Lily answered with a smile. Matthew was indeed brave. The heart issue he was born with had improved with proper treatment, and he was growing as a healthy toddler. Regular checkups were necessary, but doctors were optimistic about his prognosis. Jessica returned with 2 coffees. "They both look good," she said as she sat on the bench. "Yes, they really do," Diana smiled. "I've also been promoted to partner at the accounting firm. My new life as a single mother is going better than I expected." "How is Lily at school?" "She's treated like a hero. The brave girl who saved her brother. But she doesn't seem to care about the attention. She's only thinking about protecting Matthew." Greg and Caitlin's trial had just ended last month. Greg lost his medical license and received a long prison sentence along with Caitlin. Their child, once called Noah, was now in the adoption process. "I think about that child sometimes," Diana said quietly. "Noah, or what was his real name? He's not to blame in all this. What will you do?" "I plan to keep in contact with the adoptive family. Someday, when Matthew grows up, I'll have to tell him the truth too." Diana shared with Jessica a shocking story she had heard yesterday from a former nurse colleague at Matthew's first birthday party. Greg and Caitlin's switching plan began when Greg learned about Matthew's mild heart problem and declared he didn't want a defective child. Caitlin, not wanting to lose him, suggested switching her child with Matthew. No one noticed their plan until Lily's keen observation caused it to fall apart. "Last week, I gave a lecture at the local hospital." Diana changed the subject about physician responsibility and ethics. "Through my experience, I advocated for reforming the medical system." "What was the response?" "Surprisingly good. It became an opportunity for many healthcare professionals and students to seriously consider patient rights and medical ethics." 3 months ago, Diana and her children moved to a new house. Leaving the house filled with memories of Greg was necessary to start a new chapter. The new house is smaller but warm, with a swing and flower bed in the garden as Lily wished. "Mom, look. Matthew is standing by himself." Lily's voice called out. Indeed, Matthew was standing at the edge of the sandbox, balancing with his small hands outstretched for a few seconds. Then, wobbling, he began to take one step, then another toward Lily. Diana felt her heart swell. This great step of a small life seemed like a new step in her own life. Family is bound not just by blood but by love and honesty. The courage to stand up for your children is the true mark of a parent. The words she had spoken during her lecture resonated in her heart. Lily was hugging Matthew, celebrating his first steps. There was no doubt that her courage had changed the world a little, or at least saved their small world. And this small victory might be the beginning of a bigger change.